This video is sponsored by Noise Canceling Beats because I am tired of hearing CreepShow Art's BS.
According to Emily's second video on My Husband and I, she continued to have what she labeled as romantic conversations with Anthony throughout 2016, showing messages between them from December 2016, which would have happened a month later for her story to be correct. We can prove that Anthony and I had no part in this because he didn't have a phone at the time that this would have occurred, and we shared mine.
Hello everybody, welcome back. You look great. It's been a long week. I missed you. How you doing? I'm doing great, and welcome back. Before I get into this video, I want to address one thing from my last video that I made a glaring mistake on, and I do apologize about that. So, in my last video, I made it a point of emphasis that Emily Artful and CreepShow Art were actually friends for a couple years. I don't know why I said that, and the way the information was presented made it seem like they were best friends, but I was incorrect about that. They were actually never friends. They only knew each other through Anthony, who is now CreepShow Art's husband, and Emily Artful's ex. Now, everything I feel about Anthony, you're gonna see that later on in this video, that how I feel about him. So stay tuned for that. So I just wanted to address that now. I do apologize about that. I will try to do better when I research things like that. And without further ado, let's get into this video. Hey, what is up everybody? Yes, I returned to your phone, your computer, your TV, your tablet, your laptop. I don't know what you're watching me on right now, but welcome back. It's me, it's Malcolm, and today we're talking about CreepShow Art once again. Reason being is because I have some questions of my own, and I have some theories about why her video was so poorly received and why pretty much nobody's on her side except for like what, 1.7 thousand people that liked her video, but that's pretty much it. I wanted to talk about that, and I also wanted to talk about CreepShow Art's husband Anthony, who really hasn't spoken about anything. Apparently he does have a YouTube. I don't know if it's still around. I could be wrong about that, but I know he did have a YouTube at one point. I don't know if he's posting still. I don't know if he's posting on any social media right now, but I find it kind of weird that Anthony in all of this hasn't said a word. Found that extra weird, so we're gonna talk about that and pretty much his whole history with Emily Artful and that whole debacle and where CreepShow Art comes into play with the stalking thing. So we're gonna talk about that. And just before I get into the rest of this video, I want to thank everybody for getting this channel to 7,000 legends strong and growing. The last video has been received really well. Got some criticisms that, of course, I've already addressed. And I thank you for clicking the video, and if you wanted to stick around, I thank you. If you clicked on it once and then went about your way, I also thank you. Just thank you for 7,000 legends and growing. So if you're new, welcome to the legendary squad. For those that have been here, you know what the deal is. I'm gonna try to timestamp this video. So if I did the chapters things last time, I actually was able to figure it out for once, thank God. So I'll put some timestamps / chapters, so you'll hopefully be seeing that. I also will be linking all the links I had in my previous video, plus a channel called Wildflower and her video in my description below as well. I will get to that when I talk about Anthony because I had zero knowledge on Anthony. So all credit goes to Wildflower because I definitely looked up her video, and like her video had pretty much all the information I needed to know about Anthony because I really didn't look much into him last time, but this time I did, and I'm not surprised that it's even worse than I thought. So we got that, and we have this video broken down into 5 parts. I think it's 5 parts. It's going to be broken down into 5 parts. So pretty much part 1 is going to be the aftermath of the video because there have been some more tweets by Emily Artful that she released, and also a little bit of evidence thus proving that she wasn't lying about pretty much anything that she was accused of. So we have that. And then in part 2, we are going to talk about CreepShow Art's husband, Anthony, and like his role in everything, because he's definitely not innocent. And I'm pretty sure that him and CreepShow Art have been working together this whole time. So we're going to talk about that. And in part 3, we're going to really talk about why the video failed and like my personal theories on why the video failed. And if you have your own personal theories, please let me know in the comments down below. Part 4 is going to be CreepShow Art's like redemption arc. Like, can she be redeemed? Or, like we all pretty much know, was her last video kind of like the nail in her coffin? So we're going to talk about that very briefly. And then the last part, I just wanted to read some comments from my video from last week, because a lot of people had some good points that I really didn't raise. So I just picked out some comments that really picked out a lot of things that I myself probably missed, or something I agree with that I didn't say in my video. So we have that, and then of course at the end I do my usual conclusion spiel, my personal thoughts, and things like that. So without further ado, let's talk about the aftermath. So let's talk about this aftermath of CreepShow Art's video. Now remember, CreepShow Art uploaded on New Year's Eve. It is now January 10th as of me recording this video. I wanted to get this video up sooner, but my internet went out because of snowstorms last week, so I haven't had internet for 2 days, and I wanted to release this video a little bit sooner, but we're good, we're back, so I'm sorry I'm late about that. I did want to release another video about this sooner, but of course, nature happens. Cannot help it. Anyway, so the aftermath of this video was not good for CreepShow Art. People were able to use like dislike extensions, like the YouTube extension, or they use vidIQ to find like the dislike ratio of this video. And last time I checked, the unofficial count was like at 35,000 dislikes and like 1.7 thousand likes. So it's pretty obvious that this video was not received well at all. And also, CreepShow Art is steadily losing subscribers. Not as fast as I thought she would be, but I'm pretty sure a lot of those subscribers either don't have their notification bell on, or they're like a dead subscriber, meaning that they are subscribed, but they just haven't unsubscribed yet, but they're also not watching CreepShow Art's content. So it could be one of those two things. Of course, we already know Emily Artful will be releasing her own video very soon, responding to CreepShow Art's video. She said she wanted to keep it very short, and she just pretty much wants to move on with her life, which I think is a very mature thing to do. In all honesty, I don't even think Emily Artful has to respond, only because it's just it's clear that a lot of CreepShow Art's evidence was BS and very contrived and very out of context. So for Emily to even be like, I have one more for her and then I'm done, I mean, I'm kind of waiting to see what she says and what receipt she has to bring to the table, because at this point, I just want everything to end for Emily Artful's sake. Do not care about CreepShow Art or her husband, so they can piss off. So after the video was over, Emily Artful released some Twitter threads following days after, and I'm just gonna read a few here, okay? So if you remember my last part, where I think it was part 2 of CreepShow Art's video, she talked about Emily's drug addiction and like the timeline of her being sober and things like that. And I personally said myself, that's not something you should do, especially about another person, because 1, it's not your business, and 2, people that are embarrassed about that kind of thing will tend to lie about dates and stuff. So it's not an uncommon thing that someone that was addicted, is addicted, would try to lie. I mean, it's not that uncommon. So for CreepShow Art to really think that social media posts were like a slam dunk and like a proof that Emily Artful was like big fat liar is very disgusting to me. But Emily Artful kind of addressed this, because she posted the following Twitter thread saying, "What's this? Proof that I was not, in fact, completely forever sober when Shannon claimed I was? That an addict lied about their sobriety? Couldn't be. Sorry, this paper is disgusting. It was in storage. Date of offense, 12/18/2012, 2 months after Shannon claims. And also, yes, I did get a DUI. I got into an accident when I was not actively high. Age can stay in your system for days. And the only reason the officer even arrested me and took me to get a urine hair follicle test was because he saw a syringe through the window of my car. Regardless, it was wrong. Again, taking accountability. CreepShow Art will never do this. I continue. Just because I wasn't actively high anymore, it doesn't mean my driving still couldn't have been impaired. This DUI and petty drug charge are the only things on my record. I've never been charged with assault like Shannon claims. Also, this woman has my full legal maiden name. If these charges existed, why didn't she just look them up and post them? They're public record. I've definitely had many run-ins with the police, the drunk tank, etc., etc. But she's acting like I assaulted all these people. That is absolutely pure fiction. Another example of her filling in random spaces of my life is if she was privy to any of it. Also, she's taking anything Anthony tells her as gospel, and as I continue to skim the doc, it's clear that he's been dishonest an obscene amount of times. What I was concerned about in high school was truancy, because I missed a lot of school my junior year. Because here in America, your legal guardian can actually get charged for not making you attend school. And obviously that will reflect poorly on my college applications. She throws so many random irrelevant screenshots and points in there, and like I said in my first video, telling a bunch of half-truths and hiding lies in between them, making it very difficult for me to disprove all of them without seeming just as unhinged as she is. She concludes, I'm still working on my official response video. I don't want it to be more than maybe 20 minutes max, and even that's pushing it for me. I am so done with all of this. Once it comes out, I'm done. I just want to move on and resume what I was doing before. And then she says, by the way, there is no docket number because the arraignment and subsequent hearing had not happened yet. This was a letter informing me, even though the county had decided to not press charges earlier in the year, they were rescinding that decision and were going to charge me. So again, pretty much that's one of the things that Emily Artful kind of disproved about this whole addiction timeline thing that CreepShow Art tried to present. CreepShow Art's whole thing was like, well, Emily was still using on this date, so why is she posting that she was clean on this date? And like, CreepShow Art, mind your business. Real talk, you need to mind your business about that kind of stuff, because one, it's not your business to talk about, and two, how, like, that's so, I just that ain't it. That's all I'm gonna say about that. That ain't it at all. I'm sorry. You trying to embarrass somebody about their sobriety is not it. I'm sorry. That's not it for me. And then remember how I talked about in Emily Artful's thread from my last video about how she got like this letter saying delete everything without explanation? She pretty much posted the email snippet that she got, and she explained it in another Twitter thread, and she says the following. Here's a snippet from the letter that Shannon's lawyer sent me. The, quote, delete everything without a word or else, unquote, letter. They only dedicated this tiny paragraph to the assault allegations. Anthony admits to having one sexual encounter with me, and that is to cover his ass. And you can pause to read it. I know it's probably a little bit small, and I forgot to get an enlarged photo of it. Pretty much the underlying part says, Anthony acknowledged that he only had one sexual encounter with Emily, which is, again, to cover his ass, which we're going to talk about the allegations a little bit later. She then continues, because, like I clarified before, Anthony and I had planned to meet up that night. What made it R-word is that I was clearly under the influence, but he went ahead anyway. I didn't even realize that would have been considered R-word until years after the fact. This is why I stayed in touch with him even after it happened. It wasn't until a few years ago that a therapist told me that it would be considered R-word, and I wasn't at fault for the encounter. I was deeply embarrassed about it for years because I knew I made a fool of myself. She said it before I even had a chance to say it. When you are intoxicated, consent is no longer on the floor. Especially the way she describes it. If you've been here before, I have covered Dirty Dom and his R-word allegations, and it's pretty much the same thing. The woman that Dirty Dom R-worded was blacked out drunk and could not consent. But what made it worse for Dirty Dom's point is he tried to come up with a video saying that she wasn't, which is... Anyway, consent went out the window. That's it. Point blank period. Anthony assaulted her. Point blank period. And then we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but then to go back, and I'm pretty sure he told CreepShow Art what happened, because at this point Anthony and CreepShow Art were together, but Emily didn't know about this. I'm pretty sure he fabricated the story to make himself sound like he was being seduced. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, and just not right now. But keep that in mind. She then continues, unfortunately, this will always be a he said, she said scenario, because the proof ends with past texts or DMs confirming our meetup, and that there would be no way to prove or disprove this happened. He could argue he had no idea I was high, but I find it very unlikely because I was nodding in and out during the encounter. And keep in mind, age makes you completely forget things. It almost never causes people to completely hallucinate scenarios. I'm trying to be objective for the general audience, but I know what happened to me. That is all I can say. Before I read the rest, yes, that is Emily's story. You cannot take that away from her. So for someone that's trying to justify what Anthony did, I don't know if you're going to hop in my comments and try to defend that guy. Do not. I'm just saying, don't do it, because we don't do that around here. We're not apologists around here. We're not doing that. I'm just saying, don't do that. Don't try to defend him. Don't come in my comments trying to defend him. All right, we good? Okay. I am continuing to look into past records for further evidence, so please bear with me. I can't promise as much meticulously picked apart detail as Shannon, because I was the one being stalked, not the stalker. Because, again, we're going to talk about this a little bit later. There was so much evidence in Shannon's video, CreepShow Art's video. I don't know what you want to call her. Call her Shannon, because CreepShow Art doesn't exist anymore, apparently. All that evidence in that video just kind of made CreepShow Art more guilty. So, good job, CreepShow Art, I guess. I don't know. She then concludes on this thread saying, I believe that letter was sent by an actual law firm, as I responded from my personal email. In parentheses, she says it was sent to a different email, using the email address from the lawyer's website. I will check tomorrow by sending a verification email, but for now, I'm pretty sure it's legit. And then when you think it couldn't get worse, my friends, oh boy. I just want to say this part is very alleged, but this is my personal opinion about this part. I'm going to show a screenshot from Emily's Twitter right here. She says, so I woke up to this. These are all very old accounts, back from when all my passwords were almost the same. Dumb, I know. The Facebook that was fished around that time also used that password that could log into these accounts. That's suspicious. And if you even look at just the Snapchat screenshot, and that's pretty much all you need to really see, because this all happened, I think, the same day. As you can see, on January 3rd, 2022, somebody tried to log into Emily's old accounts. Now, this happened after, I believe it's almost after, I could be wrong, but I think in the timeline's sake, I think this happened after Emily was like, I'm gonna make a response video to all this. So it would make sense, and this is my personal opinion, that CreepShow Art probably said, or Anthony, one of the two, probably both, they probably said, we need to get into her old accounts and delete everything before she can use it against us. Now, I'm not saying that's who's doing it, but I do find it weird that after Emily Artful says, I'm going to gather evidence and make my own response video, somebody's trying to log into her old accounts. Now, I don't know what's on those old accounts. Maybe it's more receipts that we haven't seen, like the Gmail account. I think one is a photo bucket account, and then, of course, the Snapchat that you can clearly see. So I just find it weird that once Emily's like, I'm gonna make a response, some of her old stuff gets messed with. I'm just saying, kind of weird. So I don't know what Emily's going to say in this video. I have no like theories about it. I'm just very interested myself personally. I think Emily also was retweeting videos and shouting out videos that put more evidence out that it seems like she didn't even know about. So it's very interesting that all these people are finding more stuff on CreepShow Art more than Emily, which is just again proving that CreepShow Art really was never this good person that she had this online persona to be. I really don't know what's next. I don't know when this video is coming out. Apparently Emily is also in the process of moving, she said. So don't know when this video is coming out, but when it does, that'll be kind of like the final part of me covering CreepShow Art. I really don't want to drag this on. I really, for me, this video is more so like CreepShow Art's video failed horribly, and I just want to know why, because I find it really interesting that even though CreepShow Art had all this evidence in this video, it's pretty clear that everybody wasn't buying it. Now we're in part 2, and this is where I had to watch a different content creator whose name is Wildflower T. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And this part is basically going to be about where, like, Anthony, his whole role in this whole thing. And I'm gonna ask at the end of the day, like, where is he? Because I find it weird that all this stuff is coming out, especially about him, and he's just being radio silent, hasn't made a post to my knowledge, unless he has in the past couple days and I just didn't see it. But I just find it weird that CreepShow Art is defending this guy so hard. Apologist behavior, which we're going to talk about in a bit. So I have notes, so bear with me. I'll be looking off the camera a little bit, so that's why. So let's just talk about this, okay? So, like, something I didn't really know and really touch on in my last video was I wanted to talk about Emily's Artful's ex Anthony, and this is just kind of like a brief history of the relationship from the start. Like, it apparently wasn't even good from the start, and like, he was controlling, he was manipulative, and unfortunately, like I've already said in my last video, he was abusive. This Anthony guy was so like threateningly like scary that Emily Artful apparently wrote like a note saying, if something happens to me, please look at this person. Do you know how terrifying a person has to be for you to write a note saying, hey, if something happens to me, look at this person? I can't even fathom what level of fear you have to be to even do that. And and this is like also the same Anthony that made jokes about going to school, and let's just say CreepShow Art's defense to this is that he idolized like the Batman movie, and like Bane was the main character. And I think from that indication, I think you can understand what I'm trying to say, because I can't say it. Like, I also don't want to say it, but Anthony apparently made jokes about going to a school and doing that kind of thing. So that should, you know, tell you the kind of jokester he is. Now, Anthony was the one that broke off this relationship apparently, but even after that, he will be completely harassing Emily on social media, and apparently was even able to get some of his friends to join in on the harassment. Now, I would like it to make a point that this is all before CreepShow Art even entered the picture, because Anthony was still single at this point. Somewhere down the line, Anthony and CreepShow Art were in a relationship. I also want to make it clear that Emily did not know this at this point. So, I think part of Anthony's involvement in everything here is just gross and just so disturbing. This part involves CreepShow Art starting to stalk Emily. But the reason why, it's just... So we'll be discussing SA very briefly. I will not try to talk about it. We already talked about it in Emily's Twitter thread, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more. So please be mindful of that. And I'm sorry for anybody that's triggered by that. I'm sorry. While in a relationship with CreepShow Art, Anthony went over to Emily's house one day, and Emily herself already said they agreed to meet, but she was intoxicated to the point where she couldn't consent. So please keep that in mind. Emily herself says the details were very fuzzy, but she's very convinced that she was taken advantage of. So not even a day later, Emily started receiving harmful messages from all these sock puppet accounts, basically slamming her, calling her a homewrecker, and pretty nasty and vile things. Mind you that the only people that know about this encounter at this time are only Emily and Anthony. So it doesn't take a detective to quickly figure out that was either Anthony himself sending these messages through sock puppet accounts, or most likely CreepShow Art herself, because like I said, I think it's very possible that Anthony, after this encounter, went to CreepShow Art and was just like, hey, just so you know, I went to Emily's house and things happened and she took advantage of me. Basically trying to make himself sound like the victim. And based on how CreepShow Art has been to Emily, I wouldn't be surprised if this kickstarted everything. Now, because these harassing messages kept going and kept going for years at this point, Emily then hired her own private investigator who was able to then track the IP address to... I mean, it's obvious at this point, right? You guessed it, the IP address was traced back to both Anthony and CreepShow Art. Emily actually then confronted CreepShow Art through DMs, and pretty much CreepShow Art used every deflection tactic in the book to be like, look, it wasn't us, sorry. And then even tried to throw somebody else under the bus, because this whole thing about a PO box was brought up, and I'm showing, if I know me, I'm showing the Instagram DMs from Wildflower's video. So if you want to pause and read those, feel free to do so. But pretty much all you need to know is that CreepShow Art near the end was trying to be like, oh, well, somebody else used this PO box for a lot of years, so it could have been them harassing you and stalking you. So basically, this would mean that somewhere down the road, CreepShow Art was aware of what Anthony was doing, and instead of stopping him, and instead of just, oh, I don't know, being happy with her boyfriend of many years to this point, she decided to join Anthony and harass Emily Arthur, who clearly wanted to be left alone. So, again, my question is, where is Anthony in all this? Where is he now? Because I feel like he's enjoying this, you know? For some reason, I feel like both CreepShow Art and Anthony are enjoying the negative attention. Don't know why I have that feeling, right? But I really have a deep sinking feeling that they just are enjoying this and are probably laughing behind the scenes. Again, don't know what made me feel that. I'm an empath, so I don't know. It just, to me, I just feel like CreepShow Art thinks she's above and beyond everybody else. So it wouldn't surprise me. All right. Well, you didn't see it, but I had to do a little change because for the rest of this video, I have to get a little bit petty. So shout out to Swoop, because this merchandise, first of all, it's amazing. So I guess Petty University is in session. Anyway, so this is the third part, and right here is mostly theories by me. So you can agree, disagree, there are no wrong answers here. This is just what I've been personally feeling about. This is pretty much why the video failed, and I'm gonna theorize in 3 theories why I think it failed. There's probably a lot of reasons why people hated CreepShow Art's video. They probably have their own, of course, valid reasons, but I think the main reason is probably one of these 3. So let's just bear with me. Again, this is all opinion. Again, you can agree, disagree, whatever have you. So, like, my first theory, and I'm gonna go from like the least likely to like the most likely, like the most probable, so like least probable to most probable. So like my first theory is that just CreepShow Art's attitude in this video was like so poor and very much like victimizing herself. If you watched the video, and if you did, one, I'm sorry that you had to, but also if you listen to the video, and I'll just describe it if you haven't, pretty much half of CreepShow Art's video was her trying to defend Anthony and just basically like, Anthony wasn't this, he didn't do that, he didn't do this, he wasn't here, he wasn't there. And it was very much apologist behavior, because then CreepShow Art was like, Anthony couldn't have done that to Emily because this. Or my favorite thing that CreepShow Art said was like, at one point for one of the allegations, CreepShow Art goes, oh, Anthony didn't have a phone at this time, so it could have been him. I'm just gonna keep it real. CreepShow Art, I don't know if you know this, but if Homeboy is willing to lie to you about something so horrific that he did, what makes you think he doesn't have a secret phone that you don't know about? Again, this is all a theory from me, so like somebody can like correct me and say that's BS. But it's not uncommon for trash guys to have secret bank accounts, secret phones, secret double lives. It's not that uncommon. So for her to say that is pretty much saying, stop accusing my man. My man is innocent. Girl, he ran to you as soon as he knew he was going to be caught doing something really horrific, and he tried to turn it around and you fell for it. But also going back to like the end of CreepShow Art's video where she's like, touch him effing grass, and just basically told everybody to piss off, was very much so like, I will always be better than you and you cannot tell me that I'm wrong. And that to me, so like for anybody that was supporting her at that point, I'm not gonna lie, that would piss me off to the point where I'll be like, okay, you definitely guilty then, girl, because you want to act like that. You want to act like a big baby. Do you, boo-boo. That's how I would feel if I was a CreepShow Art fan while watching that video. I would be like, oh, you guilty, peace out, good luck to you. I don't know if you agree with that theory, but I just think CreepShow Art's attitude as a whole, and also the fact that she was so silent for so long, just speaks volumes to her character. And I think that's one of the reasons why this video was received so horribly. Now the second theory, and I think a lot of people are going to agree with this one, I think my second theory is like an oversaturation of information / things not making sense in her video. Now, for those that didn't watch the video, I'm just going to explain pretty much how the video went. There would be a section where CreepShow Art is talking and she would have like 5 screenshots on the screen at the same time. But also there's like this gray background, and like she's only using white text for like anything she wants to like type on the screen. If you looked at it, it's just very chaotic, and like my brain could not process everything at once. So if you're listening and only listening to CreepShow Art's video, which a lot of people do with YouTube videos, you're gonna be very confused to the point where you have to like pause, rewind, because CreepShow Art keeps going, look at the screen, because look at all these receipts. You can pause and read, but for a 2-hour and 31-minute video, I'm not gonna pause to read. I'm gonna be very confused, and I'm gonna actually have more questions that I didn't even have until I watched your video. And also with the oversaturation of information, it's like, how did you have all these things unless you were stalking Emily? Now, some people also brought up, and like one of my favorite YouTubers, her name is Xylie Gets Real, she pointed this out in her live stream. She said that, who do you think gave CreepShow Art all this like information on Emily's past? And that's when it really hit me that if that's the case, that means there was no doubt that CreepShow Art definitely knew what Anthony was doing, and also enabling him to do it by participating with him. With this oversaturation of information, especially with, again, pulling things from her school days where she had a crush on her teacher, Who cares that Emily Artful had a crush on her teacher while she was in school? You know how many teenagers have crushes on their teachers in school? It's not that uncommon. So again, for CreepShow Art to really think that was a slam dunk on Emily's character was not it. It's like you're using all this information and then you're trying to make it seem like Emily's this bad person. Also, a lot of the information that CreepShow Art did show us, Emily Artful already took accountability for, and even with the stuff that she didn't take accountability for, she took accountability for in a Twitter thread saying like, look, I wasn't a good person, all that stuff is wrong. And at the end of the day, that's really all you can ask for. It's not like, who's a good person? It's not like a James Charles type of deflection where he just acted like nothing happened. And I know he took accountability, even though he really didn't. Or even Gabby Hanna when, again, I'm gonna keep bringing this up whenever I can, when Gabby Hanna called out the Escape the Night crew, only for Joey and Daniel to clap back at her with their own videos, disproving everything, and Gabby Hanna never talked about it again because Gabby Hanna is always right and never in the wrong. That's the kind of feeling I get from CreepShow Art. No accountability, I'm never wrong, everybody else is making me the victim. That's pretty much the attitude I got from that. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are gonna agree with that second theory, that the oversaturation of information was more so a detriment than helpful to CreepShow Art. But we're gonna talk about my third theory, and I don't think it's the strongest, but I also think it makes a lot of sense in context. My third and final theory, and I really thought about this and I was like, I really feel like this is why the video failed the most. She literally burned all of her bridges. And not just with like people probably in her personal life, but she pissed off a lot. And I really do mean a lot of content creators that knew her. I've already talked about Smokey Glow and Tamimi. There was also Ready to Glare. There's probably more that I did not name, but I forgot about Ready to Glare in my last video, so I'm mentioning that now. But it's also the people that she called out on this lolcow forum that's been proven to be her through IP. Also, lolcow themselves exposed CreepShow Art for making those posts. CreepShow Art bashing all these creators. Also, in CreepShow Art's last video, calling out more creators just goes to show you that she just gave a middle finger to everyone and saying, I'm out, you can't hurt me anymore. But I think that in itself was probably a big dagger. Really not much more to elaborate on that because, like I said, pretty much people affected by CreepShow Art made their own videos about the whole situation. So I will be linking all of their videos, like I said, once again, down below. But I really do think burning all your bridges was CreepShow Art's like biggest mistake. So this part right here, this is like part 4. We're gonna actually maybe try to be like, is CreepShow Art redeemable? Is there anything CreepShow Art could do to probably save her career at this point? Spoiler alert, there's nothing CreepShow Art can do. This is more so like hypothesizing any possible way to save her career. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think there's a way to save her career. So let me just get that out of the way before somebody thinks I'm defending CreepShow Art in any sense of the word. I am not. So what does it really mean to redeem yourself, right? Like, what does it really mean to be a YouTuber, you're in a controversy, and then you try to redeem yourself and come back? We've seen it throughout the past 2 years. A lot of canceled YouTubers and a lot of problematic YouTubers have been going through like really like dangerous and like dark scandals, only for them to come back like a couple weeks, months, a year later, and people still are like very loving of them, very forgiving, saying, oh my god, I'm so glad you're back. So could CreepShow Art get that same kind of treatment? Because let's really think about it. Let's think about some of these problematic people in like the past 2 years. You have Shane Dawson, who obviously took a year off from posting on his main channel, and once he came back, of course, people like me criticized him coming back. A lot of people did. Of course, we were all called haters, and like we all are being told that we're fans. Pretty much like the regular hate comments, right? But again, Shane Dawson was so well liked that even when he did come back, people were so like, oh my god, Shane, you could do nothing wrong, even though a lot of things that were alleged to him were pretty serious. He should have lost his career over a lot of the things that was alleged of him. And then you have, of course, Gabby Hanna, who probably canceled herself with that series. If you remember, she had that series that is now deleted off of her channel because she's focusing on music, because she's a victim of drama apparently from the Red Table Talk. She's a victim of drama. I don't know. And of course, again, there's like a small core of people that still like Gabby Hanna, like her content, like her music. Again, Gabby Hanna could do no wrong, blah blah blah. Same song and dance, different creator. Here's another one, Jeffree Star. Shane Dawson kind of sainted him. Jeffree Star came back. He's now like again, small core of people like Jeffree Star. He can never do no wrong, blah 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 blah. Right? So again, I'm asking that question. Could that happen to CreepShow Art? I'm gonna tell you right now, I do not think so. Reason being, most of the creators I've named only affected people that didn't have big followings. Gabby Hanna and Jessie Smiles, that's a whole different shebang-a-bang that we're not going to talk about anymore. I'm trying not to talk about that as much anymore. I just wanted to bring it up for like context purposes. But pretty much like Jeffree Star affected people that weren't really that big. Shane Dawson, we already know how he was with minors. James Charles, again, with minors, not that big of a following. But Emily Artful is obviously very respected in the community. People like Emily Artful. And once Emily Artful came out with the story, like the video I think has like 3.6 million views at this point. So I don't know if that's like a reflex of like because of CreepShow Art's video lately, or like it's always been that way. But I think Emily Artful was like the wrong one to come after, if I'm being completely honest, because like I said, Emily Artful's been around longer to the point where people think CreepShow Art was copying Emily Artful. And I even mentioned this, apparently Emily Artful reached out to CreepShow Art and just asked her to change content up a little bit because it was too similar, and CreepShow Art pretty much told her, no, I'm not going to. Which, narcissists, that's what they do. I just think with Emily Artful as a whole, for how long she was affected, I think that's why a lot of people are like, CreepShow Art cannot be saved. And again, I asked the question, can she be saved? And the more I think about it, the more I'm even talking about it right now, I don't think so. I think the damage was too severe. I think the damage was too far. I think it's like a combination of Shane, Jeffree, Gabby Hanna, and James Charles into one. I really do, because remember with the lol cow post, with the transphobic and homophobic comments, and the racist comments, and the calling out creators. Because remember, Jeffree Star had racist past, probably still is racist. You have the racism of Jeffree Star, and then you have like the inappropriate stalking or like the inappropriate things with minors and stuff. James Charles, Shane Dawson, and then you have like the stalkerish behavior, Gabby Hanna to Jessie Smiles. You have all of that wrapped up, and that's who CreepShow Art is. So I think CreepShow Art is probably like one of the worst people I have ever like seen as a whole, because she's just a combination of probably some of the most problematic creators on this platform. Asking the question, can she be redeemed? The answer is absolutely the F not. I don't even know why I made this a section, but I wanted to ask the question. And even like, this is how I work in my brain. I talk about it and now I'm like, you know what? It's not doable. I'm sorry. If you think CreepShow Art is redeemable in any way, just leave it in the comments below. Do you think if there's any way she could save it? If she just goes away and comes back, do you think people are like a small core of people? Do you think some people will be okay with that? Just let me know in the comments down below. So the last part is just me reading comments from my last video, because again, like I said earlier, there were some good points that I didn't even catch, or I probably missed or didn't talk about my video, that I think a lot of people in my comments from my last video really brought up and made sense. So I just wanted to read some now, but before I do, I think there's a little bit of change I need to make. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I have my sunglasses on because of all the shade that's about to be thrown. Alright, we're gonna read some YouTube comments. Alright, you ready? Let's go. So, the first comment is from Jillian, who says, "My theory is that Shannon spent a good portion of her time away making this video, and that she truly believed that she would only release it in one of those events she outlined at the beginning of the video. But her channel was about to be demonetized," which we've already talked about, because, like, again, YouTube has this special rule where if you don't upload for 6 months, they can take away your monetization. Plus, you have a 30-day grace period, which I didn't mention. So you pretty much have 7 months to post a video before YouTube says, okay, you're out of the partnership program. So she threw this up to extend that out. She has spent so many years convincing herself that what she's done to Emily is okay because of all the ridiculous receipts to prove that she's a bad person, that I think she genuinely thought making an itemized list of her sins would convince others too. All she did was restate points Emily already admitted to and prove that Emily was 100% right about the stalking. It's really shocking, and she needs so much help. Also, glad you're back, Malcolm. Well, thank you, Jillian, for that. Because, yeah, again, we already talked about it in my parts about my theories. The over plethora of information was probably not the best look. So, again, good job, CreepShow Art. You proved that you're a stalker. Alright, my second comment is from Amber Carl, who says, "The fact that Shannon has receipts about those things Emily did in middle school from 12 years ago tells me everything I need to know about who the stalker is. Emily didn't have a lot of proof with some of the claims, but she was open about it, and that even admitted that she would understand why people wouldn't believe those things because of the lack of proof, but I felt it was part of her story and experience, so she included it. Also, thank you for taking one for the team and getting us up so we could see the nonsense without giving her the traffic." Thank you, Amber Carl. You went all the way back to homegirl in school to bring up points to make it seem she's a bad person. Hopefully I'm saying this name right. I think it's Tia or Taya Harris, who says, "Shannon's husband is probably low-key getting a kick out of Shannon doing all of his dirty work." Talked about this earlier. Not saying that Shannon isn't just as responsible, but it's clear that he's puppeteering her and she's just taking the bait. I believe that this because of the uncanny obsession with Emily. It's like too personal. From knowing her sobriety date to even going all the way back, again, to Emily's high school days. Why would Shannon, by herself, be obsessed with Emily? That's why I wanted to talk about CreepShow Art's husband, Anthony, more in this video. I'm not saying Anthony's getting like a free pass. He's definitely not. But we have to remember that he's like actually even more guilty than CreepShow Art. And I'm not saying people have forgotten about that, but it's just, I just want to keep, like, I feel like we need to remind people that, hey, it wasn't just her. Like, yeah, she's guilty, but he's also more guilty. So that's why I wanted to make this video, just to also bring up the point of Anthony and, of course, why this video is here. We have this comment here from Danica, who says, "My favorite part is that she boxed herself into a corner with her own claims. Sis, you've either meticulously saved all of Emily's online activities for years, so stalker, or some mystery person, aka Emily's real lifelong stalker, sent you all this and you just put it in your pocket in case you needed it later. Remember, Shannon claims, CreepShow Art claims, that she was sent all this information, but she didn't want to use it. But then, if that's the case, why would you save the information that you were sent and holding it for years?" That's a contradiction right there. You're either stalking her or working with her stalker, and you're the one who's provided the most proof of that. I mean, seriously, someone couldn't just send me years of casual stalking evidence, not even a person I hate, and I not contact that person or the police about it. Hell, after she accused you, did it not occur to you to be like, hey, your stalker actually contacted me and sent me this stuff. I'll help you / the police track them down any way I can. No, because no one sent you that crap. You saved it yourself because you're the stalker. I mean, we have Snow Angel Lunar, or Snow Angel Lunar, who says she should have accepted that her reputation was destroyed and should have stayed off the internet. Go and live a quiet life with her creepy husband. But her narcissism shows that she needs to be right and has to have the last word. Her obsession is more worse than Gabby Hanna, and that says something. Yikes. I've already brought up Gabby Hanna a little bit earlier because of the way she was with Jessie Smiles and all of those receipts. Like, Shannon just should have took the L at this point. I think releasing this video was like done way more harm than good. And I know she's like, I don't care, I'm done. But again, somebody already else pointed it out in one of the comments earlier, you were about to lose monetization. Plus, the two things that you stated in your own video didn't happen. So if one of those two things in the beginning of your video didn't happen, that means you posted this video to save your YouTube monetization, meaning you're probably gonna cut back. Katie, longtime subscriber, says the following. Also, one thing, I don't think others are connecting this, that there's no way CreepShow Art could have found all this stuff from high school without the help of Anthony, since that's when they were originally involved. So I think a lot of this also indicts Anthony as a stalker as well. I can't remember when they got together, but they were very involved around 18, 17 years old. It's not that far-fetched to think Anthony himself used all this and just gave it to CreepShow Art and said, here you go. CreepShow Art says she was sent information and she never used it. But then again, if you were sent information and you didn't want to use it, why would you save it? Because nobody sent it to you. That's the point that I'm going to keep emphasizing. And my last comment that I want to read is from Maddie, who says, I listen to CreepShow's videos and it's kind of how I got into commentary. I'm an artist, so I thought the concept was really interesting when all this stuff came out. I was so shocked, and that the video even made me even more embarrassed I ever watched her. She's spoken like someone who has never knew of an addict. You can't piece someone's life together and serious events that take place through social media posts like knowing the color and wallpaper of her walls. Yikes. Also, the part where she's bringing up Emily's old tweets that are women shaming, she's already said and took accountability for it. It all makes me so sad. I forgot to bring this up, and I don't know why I forgot, because I remember this part so well. Forgot to bring it up. There was a part where CreepShow Art mentions that the color of the walls were like inside of Emily's house, but apparently CreepShow Art has never been to Emily's house. So how would she know the color of her walls, or like the color, or like what the wallpapers looked like? I'm just saying, a spade is a spade. 1 + 1 = blue. Graham crackers are delicious. You guys are awesome. So I'm just saying, that's weird. That's suspicious.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
It's not even just my YouTube comments. I've looked through other content creators' comments, and it's pretty much the same thing, where it's just like CreepShow Art did the most and pretty much proved that she was a stalker more than Emily ever could have. And again, Anthony is 100% guilty in all of this as well. He is not innocent of anything. He is a garbage human. And the fact that CreepShow Art is like, oh my god, me and my husband are being accused of crimes. And I'm like, yeah, you think? Like, in conclusion, I guess we're gonna have to wait for Emily Artful's video to really get like the conclusion to all of this. But I guess my purpose for this video was to just ask like some questions that I needed answered personally myself. Also, again, I didn't talk about Anthony like at all in my last video, so I wanted to fix that injustice, because again, he's not innocent at all. And also, of course, I wanted to correct that I thought Emily and CreepShow Art were friends. I wanted to correct that mistake early on, and I do apologize about that. Again, like I've said, I will try to do more research and do better. Again, thank you for 7,000 subscribers and growing. Like, you all are awesome. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button. It really does mean a lot to me, and for like hitting that bell to make sure you don't miss a video, because you didn't have to, and the fact that you did makes you a legend, period. So once again, it is Malcolm. That's me. I'm sorry that this video is once again long, but I feel like you would enjoy it. So subscription button up here, to the videos over there for your own free time. Without further ado, I wish you well, I wish you good health, and I will see you again next time.